In a quiet Polish village surrounded by forests and lakes, Patrick lived alone with his mother. The place was small, almost forgotten by the world, except during the summer when tourists occasionally passed through. For most of the year, however, it was silent enough that Patrick could hear the wind sweeping over the empty fields. His father worked far away and rarely visited, so Patrick's entire life revolved around the one person always by his side, his mother. She was the center of his routines, his comfort, and his sense of stability. Without her, the world felt too big and too empty. Every day blended into the next, but Patrick didn't mind. He and his mother had their own little traditions, biking down the narrow dirt roads, swimming in the cold lake water, and racing the train that cut through the village twice a day. They would stand near the tracks, laughing as the train thundered past, pretending they were fast enough to outrun it. Patrick didn't have any other kids to play with, and he didn't really know what it felt like to have friends. His mother was enough. She was his partner in every game, every adventure, every moment. When summer arrived, everything changed. Families from nearby towns came to the village to spend their holidays. Children ran across the fields, played by the lake, and filled the quiet streets with noise Patrick wasn't used to. He watched them from a distance, unsure how to approach anyone. Around the same time, his mother began stepping out every evening. Her phone would ring, she'd answer quickly, and then leave with a rushed promise that she'd be home soon. But more and more often, soon became late at night or the next morning. Patrick tried to be patient, but each quiet evening felt heavier than the last. He waited alone, listening to the hum of insects outside, wondering when his mother would return. Sometimes she came back tired and distracted, barely speaking before going to sleep. A girl moved into the house next door, a teenager spending her summer break in the village. Patrick tried to say hello once, but she barely acknowledged him. The rejection stung more than he expected. Meanwhile, the distance between him and his mother grew wider each day. One evening, when his mother was getting ready to go out yet again, Patrick felt something inside him snap. He grabbed a glass of juice and threw it across her dress before he could stop himself. His mother was shocked, then furious. She scolded him, unable to understand the storm of loneliness that had been building in his chest. After changing her clothes, she left anyway, shutting the door behind her. Heart aching, Patrick followed her from a distance. He soon discovered she was meeting the same man night after night. On his way home, he spotted a small fawn wandering alone near the road, unsure of where to go. Something about it struck him deeply. The fawn didn't know where its mother was, just like him. The day after seeing the lone fawn, something in Patrick shifted. Maybe it was courage, maybe just the need to feel less alone, but he finally approached another girl staying nearby. Her name was Em. They spoke only for a few minutes at first, simple questions, shy answers, yet somehow it was enough. Em admitted that her parents were divorced and that she often felt out of place, even around other kids. Patrick didn't say much, but she seemed to understand him anyway. Soon, the two of them began spending more time together. They rode their bikes along the familiar paths Patrick once traveled only with his mother. They swam in the lake, skipped stones, and watched dragonflies hover above the water. For the first time in a long while, Patrick felt lighter. The loneliness that had been sitting on his chest for weeks slowly began to fade. Em didn't fix everything, but she made the quiet days feel less empty. But just as Patrick started to feel grounded again, something new unsettled him. There was an older boy, someone who came with the group of visiting kids, who seemed to make Em uncomfortable. He hovered around her, insisting she spend time with him instead. Em tried to avoid him, but it wasn't always easy. Patrick noticed Em's anxious glances whenever the boy appeared. He didn't fully understand what was happening, only that it wasn't right. And being younger, he didn't know how to help her. One evening, while following his mother again, Patrick caught sight of Em talking with the older boy. They were sitting together, Em looking tense, the boy talking too much, too loudly. To Patrick, who had no idea what was being said, it looked like the two were close. The familiar sting of abandonment returned. What if Em was choosing someone else too? just like his mother. By the time he returned home, the tiny bit of peace he had gained felt undone. The next morning, Patrick went to find Em and asked her directly whether the boy had pressured her. Startled and overwhelmed, Em burst into tears and ran home without explaining. Patrick, convinced she had been mistreated, rushed after her. When she couldn't tell him what happened, he assumed the worst and ran to confront the older boy. But Patrick was just a child, and the boy was much older. Patrick's attempt failed instantly, and he retreated feeling powerless and humiliated. Later that day, Em approached him carefully, trying to explain that they were still friends, that nothing had changed between them. But Patrick, already hurting from everything happening with his mother, couldn't process it. The emotions he'd been bottling up spilled out all at once, and he spoke to her with a harshness he didn't intend. Em looked at him, eyes full of hurt, and then quietly walked away. Patrick watched her go, confused and devastated. He didn't know why everything in his life felt like it was slipping out of his hands. He didn't know how to handle any of it, and without guidance from an adult, he had no one to help him understand his own feelings. Days later, Patrick's mother came home crying. Her relationship with the man she had been meeting had fallen apart. She stayed indoors for several days, withdrawn and sad, no longer leaving him alone every evening. For Patrick, it was a strange mix of relief and worry. He finally had his mother near him again, and he tried quietly to take care of her, bringing her food, sitting beside her, waiting for her to talk. Then, unexpectedly, Patrick's father returned home. He brought gifts, hugs, and the promise of spending the rest of the summer together as a family. For a brief time, life felt almost normal again. Patrick saw his parents laughing, talking softly, sharing moments he'd forgotten they were capable of. His loneliness began to ease, and the constant tension in his chest loosened day by day. One evening, while Patrick and his father were playing chess at the kitchen table, his father paused the game and looked at him carefully. "Was your mom going out a lot while I was gone?" he asked gently. Patrick felt his stomach twist. He had promised his mother that he wouldn't reveal anything about the man she'd been meeting, so he quietly shook his head, keeping the secret even though the lie felt heavy. His father didn't press him, but Patrick could tell he sensed something was off. The atmosphere in the room shifted, as though a quiet tension had settled over the house. Around that same time, Em visited Patrick. She seemed nervous but hopeful. She asked if he wanted to ride bikes with her like they used to. They cycled down the familiar forest paths, then stopped by the lake to swim one last time. Afterward, sitting on a rock with her knees pulled to her chest, Em told him softly that her summer vacation was ending. Her family would be leaving in a few days. She apologized for everything that had come between them, and although Patrick didn't know how to fix the past, he understood that her goodbye was sincere. Summer was ending, and everything that had kept him balanced felt like it was slipping away again. When Patrick returned home that afternoon, he spotted the same woman, the wife of the man involved with his mother, walking down the stairs of his house. Her eyes were red and swollen. She didn't look at him as she slipped past and left. Inside, Patrick found his father sitting alone in the bathroom, quietly crying. Patrick didn't need anyone to explain what had happened. He understood immediately. The woman must have told his father the truth about the affair. His father stayed silent for a long time afterward. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but hollow. He said he would be leaving again soon for work, and Patrick heard the unspoken words behind it. He might not come back the same way again. Patrick's mother tried desperately to convince him to stay, but once trust had been damaged, their home felt fragile, like a glass that had already cracked once and would never be whole again. By the end of the week, his father packed his things and left. And just like that, the brief warmth Patrick had felt, those rare days of family harmony, disappeared. Soon, summer officially ended, and Patrick had to return to school. His mother walked with him down the street, but neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt wide and unsteady, full of things neither had the courage to say. Patrick was angry that her choices had driven his father away, angry that her absence had made it hard for him to connect with others, angry that he had been left to deal with everything alone. He felt stuck, unsure how to step forward into the new school year. As they approached the railway tracks, his mother walked ahead while Patrick lagged behind. A train roared in the distance, rumbling closer, the noise echoing across the fields. The scene unfolded like a wordless message. Adults move ahead, carried by their choices, while children struggle to keep pace, trying not to get lost in the gaps. Patrick's mother turned around, just for a moment, and saw how far behind he was. Her face went pale. She called his name, her voice trembling, and ran toward him with tears in her eyes. In that instant, something inside her shifted. Fear cracked open the truth she had been avoiding. She realized who truly mattered, not the man she had met in secret, not the temporary escape from her responsibilities, but the son who had always waited for her and the family that had tried to hold on to her. And with that moment of clarity, the story came to its quiet, solemn end.